Hi everybody, this is my doctoral journey presentation for PRST 5610. I'm recording this in advance because of something that's going on in my life on Tuesday, which is a campus meeting called Curriculum Committee, which I'll talk about in a little bit because it's definitely part of my job. But the chances are very good that I will not be physically present, and I do not want to interfere with the very tight schedule that we have. So I recorded this presentation so that Dr. Axelson would be able to keep her schedule and not have to rearrange things in the event that I am significantly late. So to begin my presentation, I've put up my professional biography. I have Bachelor's of Science and Master's degrees in Petroleum Engineering from Montana Tech. I have a land surveying certificate from UW. I'm a registered professional engineer in both Colorado and Wyoming. And I am a faculty member at Northwest College, in addition to being a PhD student in science education with y'all at University of Wyoming. So this slide shows an organizational chart for academic affairs at Northwest College. There are 4 vice presidents here, 1 president, 4 vice presidents, and the vice president that I report directly to is the vice president for academic affairs, Dr. Gerald Girod. There are several layers of people who report to Dr. Girod, including 5 academic divisions. My academic division is physical sciences. We also have life and health science, humanities, visual performing arts, social science, and then sort of an amalgam division of communications, photography, ag, tech, and equine studies. And I've put a red arrow here to sort of indicate something that one of my co-chairs has said, is that a division chair at Northwest College is basically a thin layer of grease that separates faculty and administration. And I have definitely found that to be descriptive. In my personal life, this is a picture of my family. I have been married to David, the tall fellow right here, since 1982. We have 3 sons, Patrick, Michael, and Benjamin. We have 1 daughter-in-law, Kylie, and 2 little grandsons, Cade and Caleb. The woman here is my husband's mother, Marianne, who is still very much an active part of our family. And my mother, who is not pictured, is also in her 80s and lives independently and pretty much is, even though she's not pictured, is an active part of our family. So getting into the specifics of what we're doing here in class, my blogging, my doctoral journey blog is at astridsdocjourney.blogspot.com, and I chose that just because I have Gmail accounts and it's relatively quick and easy. So in my blog, I have kept track of a lot of different things. Some of the stuff I'm working on, some of the stuff that I've found, some of the stuff that I feel, panic, that's obvious. And sometimes I have this tendency to just take on too much stuff and then end up panicking when I attempt to do it. So I had constructed a timeline for my PhD, which I'll talk about a little bit later on, but it is certainly a flexible timeline. So I am 58 years old, and sometimes I think, why am I getting started in my PhD program right now? And the reason is basically because there is no time like the present. In physical sciences, it is, unless people go into research, it's sort of more typical for people to get a master's degree and to not continue to the PhD level. And so that was sort of the model I was operating under for many, many years. Then in the summer of 2015, the president of our college invited me to attend a women's leadership in community colleges event in Salt Lake City. So I went for a week and I met a lot of women who had completed their PhDs, And I mean, I've met a lot of people here as well, not so many in our division, but in other divisions. But I was really struck by the different journeys that people had taken. I'd always sort of assumed that PhD people sort of came right out of their master's degrees or worked in industry for a couple of years and then went back to school. And what I found was a lot of people just did it at different stages of their lives. And so I felt when I went to this leadership seminar, I had been division chair for about 5 years. I felt like my career was stable. I'm a fully tenured associate professor at Northwest College, and my children were in college or married or working or some combination of those three things. And I sort of had some free time, so I decided, what do I want to fill it up with? And the poet Thomas Lynch always jokes when people ask him why he writes or where he finds time to write. He says, because I don't golf. Well, I don't golf, so this is sort of my hobby at this point in my life. I mean, it's much more than that, but it takes up time that could be filled up in other ways. But this is the chosen way for me to do it, and I've really been enjoying the experience for the most part so far, with momentary bursts of panic. Most of it has been a journey of curiosity and engagement and expansion of my skill set. One of the things that I'd really hoped to accomplish that has been both the biggest blessing and the biggest hardship of this journey is my ability to write. As an engineer, writing is always, I would say it's not really my first language. I'm much more comfortable with presentation, communication, and with spoken communications in general. And writing formal documents in English words, not using a lot of pictures and a lot of math, was sort of foreign to me. So this has really helped. I would say, as an honest assessment, that my writing has gotten 20% better and 80% faster. So overall, I would consider that a win. So the reason I took so long to start was because I was doing other things, and now I'm not. And another important piece of this is mentorship. So in addition to the women that I met at the leadership seminar 3 or 4 years ago, I also have a mentor here at Northwest College. His name is Ray Floyd, and Ray is our computer science / engineering / math professor. He is a visiting professor, so he has not applied for a tenure position, but he is a double E in electrical engineering, a master's and bachelor's level in electrical engineering, and a PhD in engineering leadership. And at one point I was complaining to him about, not having a PhD, being too old to start. And he told me that he had completed his PhD when he was 72 years old. So at that point, I really didn't have anything to argue about, because I do have some years. I have 14 years before I'm 72. So I understand I have 9 years to finish this degree. So I will still beat my mentor. Ray's also a writing mentor. He's helped me to write other types of documents. He is an editor for IEEE Potentials, which is a educational publication for electrical engineers. And my first publication was in an issue of IEEE Potentials, and that was a big thrill for me. It was just a personal biography of my journey toward becoming a petroleum engineer, what led me to where I was, where I'd gotten, and then also just sort of where I go from there. So it was a good piece for me to introspect on where I was, and it was a good piece for me to write getting into this journey as well. So the whole point of that is mentorship is very much the key to this entire process, whether it's through a community like we have in this class, or a particular person who takes an interest in my writing, in my case, like Dr. Floyd, or a community like the women that I encountered at Community College Leadership Forum in Salt Lake 4 years ago. So continuing, moving forward with my journey in this class, I'd like to take a minute and talk about my book review. The book that I am reviewing is shown on the right-hand side of this slide, or the right-hand side to me anyway, called Theory and Best Practices in Science Communication Training. The book is not actually published yet. It's coming out in 2020. And I found this book actually through my writing mentor, who gave me the name of two editors of two different technical science communication journals. And there's another one that I really hope to write for, who is an editor with ASEE, which is the American Society of Engineering Educators. So when we first got this assignment to do the book review, I sent 3 emails asking if there was a book I could review. The one from ASEE wrote me a nice email back and said, "We'll see," but I never heard from her again. The second one did not answer. And the third, Dr. Scott Mogul at Texas State University, is the editor of Technical Communication Quarterly. He and I corresponded. He suggested that I review this book. I agreed enthusiastically, and we moved forward. In order to review the book, which I had never really done before, I had to learn a couple of new skills. And one of them was, that I found to be very useful, was taking notes as I went along. So the way that this book is divided, it has 3 sections. The 3 sections were entitled The Scientist as a Strategic Communicator, Science Communication Training Design and Assessment, and Future Directions for Science Communication Training. Now, each one of those sections had between 2 and 4 chapters. So it was very easy to outline this book in that I would read a chapter and then I would write a little blurb about it, which you can see here in my green pen, which is sort of my signature pen, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And then at the end of a section, I would summarize the section. So I went through that. It took me a couple of weeks, or maybe even 3 weeks, to finish my notes. Then I actually dictated my own notes into Google Docs, edited them, and completed an analysis. So the format for reviewing a book with TCQ is, it's about 1,300 to 1,500 words. Half of it is a summary of the book, half of it is an analysis of the book. So I've written the complete thing, but as is typical for me, I do not have 1,300 to 1,500 words. I started with 3,000. I gave it to Dr. Floyd to edit. He got me down to about 2,000, and so it's still up to me to get rid of about 500 words. So that's where I am with this. I owe it to Dr. Mogul, the editor, by the end of December. So that's coming after this week, which is finals for us. And I also have a final project due in the other course that I'm taking through University of Wyoming. So this book is not going to get any attention until all that is over. So the next part is to interview somebody, and I had asked Dr. Axelson if I could talk about my own work life instead, and she agreed. So the reason I wanted to do that, aside from the fact that it obviously cut down on scheduling problems to interview somebody, is because some of you may end up considering teaching at a community college or another comprehensive 2-year college. And I think from my experience working with Dr. Burrows and through my coursework at UW, teaching at a community college is very, very different. I feel like if I were going to describe what I do compared to university research, university stuff, I feel like we're really in the trenches. We are just educating all the time. And the split that I have right now between teaching and administration, in teaching it was a lot more freeform. I always sort of joked that teaching at a 2-year college is like being the mayor of your own little village or the chieftain of your own little village, because you sort of have a semester and you have to break it down and make everything work. So you have to kind of control all the systems and set a framework for everybody. But administration here is much more like an office job. Before I taught at Northwest College, I had several engineering positions, and administration and division chair stuff really feels a lot more like that than it does like teaching. So this is sort of what is a typical load for a teacher slash administrator slash thin layer of grease person added to your college. This semester I have 3 classes and 2 independent studies. My teaching load requirement, if I were a full-time faculty member, would be 15 credits per semester. As a part-time teacher, part-time administrator, my requirement is 15 credits per year and administration. So about half of my duties are teaching. Because we have a very small engineering program here, I always end up teaching an overload, and I always end up teaching independent studies. And I'm not obligated to do that. It's just the way that it works out. We just don't have the personnel to do everything we need to do. So our teaching loads are pretty busy. One of the things I've been working with, I teach math for business students and also for technical students. So students who are we have a 2-year AutoCAD drafting technology program, and we also have a 2-year welding technology program. So I teach math for those students. Occasionally I will teach a chemistry lab or a physics class, but that's really just if we get into a spot. And the rest of my teaching is engineering. So Northwest College offers 9 engineering science courses that we offer throughout the year. This semester I am teaching 3 of those classes. I'm teaching mechanics of materials, statics, and dynamics. Now I prepped my mechanics of materials class for online delivery last year, and so that is taking less minute-to-minute, day-to-day time than the other 2 classes. Statics and dynamics, generally Dr. Floyd teaches them, but I'm teaching them this semester because he's teaching more computer science, and so his schedule got full. But the other thing is I wanted to prep them for online delivery. So I did both of those classes this semester online. So I had students in the classroom with me, kind of like Dr. Axelson's class, where there's some students were in the class, some students were out in Cyberland, and I recorded content lectures and then fit them into a structure. We don't use Canvas at Northwest College. We use a different learning management system called Moodle, and it works pretty much the same way. But I try to structure my classes so that there are between 8 and 10 homework assignments, 2 timed quizzes, and 2 proctored exams, the midterm and the final. The midterm and the final are worth the bulk of the weight of the class, about 80%. The homework and quizzes are worth 20%. And it seems to work pretty well, but some students need some TLC. So I spend a lot of time here in my office working with students on their homework and making sure that they're set for everything that they need to do. In addition to my teaching, I also do administration. There are some personnel issues, such as right now I have several faculty members in our division who are standing for what we call interim review, which is 3 years into your tenure track contract. Also, we do a tenure review and promotion review. So in our division this year, we have pretty much over half of our people are standing for one or the other. So I do classroom evaluations, and I do peer evaluations, and I write letters for them, citing their strengths and their weaknesses, hoping for constructive criticism of their teaching, their service, and their professional development, which are the 3 tenets of our job requirements here. At a 2-year college, at least here at Northwest, research is not a requirement. It fits into one of the things you can do for professional development. So a lot of us in physical science do research. In the past, before I started doing the research for my doctoral program, I've done research on wind energy is my main area of focus. I have a wind turbine that I had installed at the Ag Pavilion here on the Northwest College campus. We also have solar panels, and we've evaluated that thing to the nth degree. It has produced much more data than it's ever produced energy. But there's a lot of things I could tell you about wind energy. It's kind of exciting. It's kind of interesting. and I won't get into the rest of it, but there are some good points and some bad points to wind energy. But Wyoming is a great place for generating wind energy because, you know, we have wind. So in addition to those personnel issues, I have some exciting stuff that I do as an administrator. Right now, I am working on a certification for K-12 teachers to be allowed to become endorsed to teach computer science in the K-12 system, which is a mandate of the Wyoming legislature for all the schools in the state of Wyoming by the year 2022. So I've written a 15 credit program that I'm presenting to curriculum committee. And actually, if you're watching my recorded lecture, it's because I'm at curriculum presenting that right now. After it goes through curriculum, it would then have to go through the Professional Teacher Standards Board. Then at some point in there, it will have to go through our Board of Trustees, the Wyoming Community College Commission, and then I have to hand it off to the Dean of Learning and Instruction in order to have it certified for financial aid and for professional development funds for K-12. But we're hoping to start that this summer. Northwest College is also working on a BAS, or Bachelor of Applied Science degree, and I was a lucky enough person to be on the committee of about 5 people to develop the curriculum for that. We're running that up the flagpole right now. So it's going to go to our Board of Trustees after it's cleared all the hoops here internally. It'll go to our Board of Trustees on Monday, December 9th. And so that will be pretty exciting as well. Those are exciting things. There's also some mundane things. For example, I got a notification from the fire marshal that we had stuff stacked too high in a couple of our storage rooms. And so I had to work with our physical plant and our physicist and our chemists in order to clear that so that we were in compliance with fire codes. Not real exciting stuff, but important nonetheless. So in addition to teaching and administration, I am still active in my service to the campus and to the community. I do committee work like we're just talking about, also Academic Advisory Council, which is run by our vice president. We meet once a week to discuss all the issues of curriculum and instruction here at Northwest College. In addition to that, I've this semester created an engineering road show, and basically I have 4 engineering modules. Our classmate Dawn Palmquist-Whaley has seen, I guess, all of them, because I did them at University of Wyoming a couple of weeks ago. And I've also presented them to Shepherd, Montana Middle School. And on Friday, I presented them to Meeteetse, Wyoming Middle School, 22 kids in a wonderful little small district. Fabulous experience. And I'm also right now standing for promotion myself. So this year, if all goes as planned, I will move from associate professor to full professor. So what's next for me in my journey? I am taking 2 classes this semester. I will be only taking 1 class in spring. I need to finish and submit my book review. I have 2 abstracts that were accepted for the American Society of Engineering Educators Conference, which will be held in Montreal in June. And I have to write those papers by February 1. And the question everybody asks me is, when will I be done? And I've taken to telling people while I'm still in my double digits. So if I finish by the time I'm 99, I will be a happy person. Although my actual goal is to finish by the time before I turn 60. But that's beginning to look a little elusive to me. Anyway, so in the meantime, this has been a really wonderful experience to be in this class with you. And I want to echo our classmate Ashley. I feel like Dr. Axelson and the rest of you have done an excellent job of making me feel like part of a community of scholars. And for those of us that are doing this at a distance, that is really something. So I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everything that you've done. I've met some of you before. I hope to see some of you again. And good luck to all of us. Thanks, and have a wonderful evening.